up, everybody? Look at that. Wasn't that cool, man? That was pretty cool. That was our normal intro that we would do. As always, I'm the Dharma Guy here on WPSN99.com, and that is my host. What's up, man?
What's up,
The
brother? How you
Dope
doing?
Doctor. I'm quarantined, bro. How are you doing?
I'm doing the same, man.
Exactly.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. I think that's we're still learning everything. For those of you who've been watching for the last what 2 weeks now, as
we're getting
we,
better.
yeah, I think so. As we get used to this new normal for us, I guess. And I think that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we
Yeah.
get started with that, first let's say, as always, let me go ahead and make him full screen so you can see the, the phone number.
Oh,
What we do is we help individuals who are struggling with the disease of addiction. Call 833 Now Matters. That's 833 Now Matters. Or you can go to the website, which is behind his head, nowmattersmore.org. And then you can fill out an application, or you can see more about who we are and what we do. And as always, I'm the Dharma Guy, and that is the Dope Doctor. So, first and foremost, man, how's everybody in your household?
everybody's good over here, man. Just
Yeah?
kind of calm, relaxed. It's not a
Who
big
all do
deal.
you have in your household now? Because I know Dahlia's got her own spot now, so.
Oh yeah, Dottie and John are in their own place, man. They're just doing updates to their new house that they bought over and over again. So that's what they've been doing. So it's cool to watch all the projects that they've been working on over there. And then here it's just Dana and my daughter Zoe, who doesn't look like she's ever going to go back to her senior year, man. It looks like the
Yeah.
senior prom, the senior graduation, all that at as of this moment.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's not
I don't
looking
know.
good. I don't know if they're going
It's
to
not looking good.
postpone them, reschedule them, or if they're just going to cancel them. But I know
Yeah.
my kids. I'm here at my house. I've got myself. I've got my wife, and my two youngest kids, and then my 15-year-old. And then my 15-year-old's friend was going through some difficulties at home and needed a place to crash for a little bit. So we opened the doors to let her in. And then full disclosure, as some of you who might know personally, or if we've mentioned it on here, my wife does work at the VA, and as you can imagine, working at that kind of a situation, she gets exposed to tons of things. So they kind of did the crackdown there, and they made it to where anybody who was coming or going, be it employee or visitor, had to pass like a screening before they would come in. And one of the
Yeah.
things with the screening was if you have a fever, you get turned away instantly, regardless of why you have that fever. Well, my wife gets migraines, and she's also prone to sinus infections. She ended up, we think, anyways, having a fever uh, related to her migraine. However, they wouldn't let her go to work, and they told her that she had to get tested in order to come back to work for the coronavirus. So we went, had the test done. Still waiting for results, dude. We're kind of like in a limbo. First and
It's
foremost, it was
ridiculous.
impossible to get a test. It was ridiculous, the hurdles and the hoops that we had to go through to get a test done. Period. And now we're finding that the people who did the test were so inundated with tests and overwhelmed that they had to send it out to an outsourced lab, and then that lab takes up to 10 days. So we are now expecting a result maybe on Saturday ish. Who knows? But in the meantime, we're kind of in a pseudo lockdown at my house, meaning nobody in or out because we don't know. Not that we suspect that she does. Full disclosure for everybody, none of us feel that she has anything. But
What me? I do.
yeah, well, you always think we have something. So, but we're just trying to be respectful, of the rules and everybody else. So we're trying to do our best to keep a somewhat stringent lockdown here at the house. But as you can imagine, with two little ones, a teenager, dogs, and everything else, it can get kind of hectic. I think you said it best. What was it a few days ago? You're like, yeah, the quality of my problems is different. Yeah, man, it's definitely interesting. So that's why we're going to do the show today. I
Well,
think,
I got a lot of places to hide. That's the thing. There's
yeah,
less people in my house. I don't
yeah,
have little kids,
yeah.
and I got a lot of more places to hide.
Well, I think that so today I figured we do a show on quarantine. On kind of just navigating this whole thing skillfully. Because what I'm realizing is, I'm seeing a lot of posts on Facebook and through talking to people, and then our own experiences when I'm coming across, at least from a spiritual perspective, it seems
Mhm.
like a lot of people are dealing with loneliness at the moment,
Sure.
depression for sure, anxiety, cabin fever, like kind of just frustrations, just a lot of stuff is happening because while the economy might have somewhat shut down, the rest of life continues to go on. You know what I mean? Like any issues or problems that you had prior to these. I'm going to continue to say the word quarantine, even though we're not legitimately under one.
Should
It
be.
just makes it easier for the conversation. So anybody's watching, don't message me. We're not under quarantine.
Yeah.
So anything that happened or was going on in your life, anything you were struggling with prior to this quarantine being enacted, is still there. And then on top of all that, all the things that are associated with the difficult situation that we're going through, it can make things frustrating. It can make things hard to kind
Right.
of deal with. And so I'm going to assume, for the sake of the conversation, at least one person watching this, potentially more, might be going through some struggles right now. Might be kind of at their wits' end, kind of trying to figure out how to skillfully handle this. And so I figured, why not do that show today? So that's what we're doing. Is there anything that you've struggled with, just that you've noticed that you've kind of had to like, whoa, wow, I didn't anticipate that? I would assume boredom for you, because you seem like you're constantly on the go. So I would think for you, being kind of stuck at the house would be an interesting change.
Well, before going into that, I do want to say that the financial part is affecting everybody.
Yeah,
I think everybody
yeah,
is suffering the fear and anxiety of what's going to happen financially moving forward. I mean, even if you have some extra cash right now,
yeah,
if you own properties, you got to be thinking about, are my renters going to be able to pay their bills?
yep,
If you own a business, you got to be wondering, my customer base is shrunk, and if I get goods from another location, how is
sure.
that going to play out?
Well, because there's no end in sight, right? I mean, there's no end date here.
We don't,
It's
we
indefinite
don't,
at the moment.
yeah, we don't have an end date. We don't have a true resolution.
Right.
It's a moving target,
Yeah.
and so there's really no right or what's wrong, other than what you and I did. I think is what's given me comfort, Trinity, is that what you and I try to do from the beginning, as soon as we figured out, because you and I were joking about it,
Right.
we didn't really want to take it seriously, because we like to look at the
Sure.
lighter side of stuff. Period. That's our coping, right?
Yep.
But in real early on, we figured, all right, at least for our business and how we operate, let's self quarantine.
Right.
Let's lead by example, and so we were able to do that relatively easy, whereas a lot of people
Sure.
may not be in the same position to be able to self
Well, I think
quarantine.
most people aren't, right? I mean, I
Right.
think we're
But
very
if you
fortunate in
are,
that regard.
but I think the key is, if you're out there and you have the ability to self quarantine, and what I mean by ability is that you don't have a job forcing you to come out of the house. And even if you do have a job that forces you to come out of the house, you go straight back home.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's how we get rid of this.
Yeah. Well, I think that's
And Danielle and I had a real good. By the way, Danielle, we had a conversation yesterday, and I was supposed to be walking in that Walmart because I was supposed to get something. Um, and I'm talking to Danielle on the phone, and unfortunately, 45 minutes went by. They closed the Walmart on me,
oh
and I
wow.
yeah, I failed my daughter, my daughter Zoe.
Oh man.
Uh, and boy, was she not happy with me when I returned, man. I was like, damn.
Well, can't you go
So
to the senior time? Because my mom went this morning for the seniors. I'm just saying, man. They have a special time for y'all.
I forgot all about it until right now.
Yeah, my mom had to go this morning to get some of her stuff at like 8 a.m. or something like that.
Yeah.
Some ridiculous time.
I just think so for me, no, boredom is not really an issue for me, because I pretty much can figure out how to entertain myself. Plus, I like connecting with people,
Right.
so I figure getting on here and talking to some people
What?
with stuff for the weekend,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah, we had everybody playing guitars and stuff over the weekend.
Well, playing guitars, playing
Yeah.
music, just anything. The connecting is cool with me.
Right.
So figure that out. Plus, I spend a lot of time with the family, and we got a new puppy that entertains a
Oh
lot. I
yeah.
mean, so I think just my conditions laid out really well. I'm just very fortunate, and I understand that it's a blessing. It's nothing that I'm doing. It's no special gift that I have, other than I do know how to embrace the moment
Right.
because of some pains of the past. But other than that, I'm just a very fortunate person. I just understand that I'd better focus on gratitude, because not
Sure.
everybody has the whole scenario that I have going on right now.
Yeah, man. Well, I would echo your first sentiment, and that is, by all means, if you're able, self quarantine.
Right.
And if you're not able, get as close to it as you possibly can.
Hmm.
Only because it's not it's just not worth it. There's
Yeah.
nothing you're going to go out and do at the moment that's going to be worth putting everybody around you at risk. Because while
Right.
you might not be at high risk for it, there's a plethora of people out there that are. And
Right.
even though you're not showing signs or symptoms, you could give it to somebody else. I think, whoa, what was that? Somebody
That
blowing
was
something.
yeah.
Um,
It sounded Like Dana broke something.
But like for an example, right? You have Rand Paul was one of the he's an
Yeah,
independent, I believe, but he's
yeah,
one of the politicians, and he
yeah.
was not showing any signs or symptoms. He was told not to get tested, but he defied that, went and got tested regardless. Turns out he actually had it, and he was asymptomatic, which means that had he have not gotten tested and just went to work as usual, he would have infected
Mhm.
potentially every person he was around.
Right.
And so I think that's why it's important. It's not necessarily for you per se, but for those around you that are less susceptible or more susceptible to it. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I, I think that's the key, Trinity. I think the key really is here is that if you behave as if you have it, you're going to behave a
Yeah.
lot more
Yeah.
responsibly. Um, and to be honest with you, Trinity, I felt like at the beginning, Frank and I were having a conversation when we were up at TPC and we were told, hey, we all got to go home. There's not going to be any golf the next day, blah, 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 all that stuff.
Right.
Me and him looked at each other on the way when we were leaving, and he looked at me and goes, Louis, I actually think I have it. And I looked at him, I said, you know what? I didn't want to say something, because it's kind of early on. I
Right.
said, but I think so too, because I just didn't feel well.
Right.
And when he started telling me the symptoms that he was feeling, I was having every single one of them. So it's kind of odd to me, but it could be, like Dana said, it could have been, sinuses.
It
It
could
could
have
have
been
been
anything, man.
seasonal stuff, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But the point is that from that moment forward, once I got home, I started feeling like, all right, I'm going to just treat myself as if I have it, because
Sure.
before working within the hospital industry, within the healthcare industry, we had to learn universal precautions. It was one of the things that we learned early on when you're dealing with patients is you got to treat every patient as if they have a
Yeah.
communicable disease. And if you treat every patient as if they have it, you're going to be a little bit more careful on how you trade fluids or whatever.
Yeah. I
And
would
so,
hope you're not trading too many fluids with anybody, but
blood,
sure.
just be careful,
Yeah.
right? It's some people just aren't. I mean, you see some people, they just really just aren't.
Yeah.
And so I think that is the real key. I think if you treat yourself as if you have it,
Right.
you treat everyone around like they have it. And what I mean by that is don't get like fearful of people. Like
Right.
I've seen some people out there in the stores and stuff, but just be responsible in regards to how you touch things, what you touch, washing hands, all that stuff. Then we're going to end this quicker. For those of you that are refusing to self quarantine, just so you know, as good as you may feel, you're part of the reason this is going to go on longer.
Right.
It's going to be a lot shorter if everybody hunkers down and just takes a big bite. What's
I'm
going on?
attacked by my dog, man. He doesn't understand that I'm busy at the moment. All right, go lay down, Bubba. Go.
I knew something had to be happening because you were looking down and you were like, I was like, I
Sorry.
don't know what you're fighting with, but
My
something's fighting you.
when a 70-pound pit bull decides it's time to be pet, you kind of really don't have much of a choice.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you 100%. If I had to pick things that I've been struggling with myself, that I think, just from what I've seen on Facebook feeds and whatnot, I think quite a few people are relating to. One of the things is, I don't want to call it trivial, but it's less a me thing, I guess, and that is, I have struggled with seeing the people around me or even people on TV not taking it as seriously as I think they should.
Yeah.
I agree with you in the sense of I don't think you should panic, but do you really need to go to the store for a Snickers bar right now? Like, really, you can't do without that right now.
Right.
Or like, I try to have patience with my little ones, of course, because at 8 and 10, they don't know what the hell's happening.
Right.
But my 15-year-old, I expect a little bit more out of, just because I know that she understands more. But at the same token, I always have to keep in mind she's 15. You know what I mean? And this is her spring break, and she's trying to have her friends over, and I'm like, no, man, it can't. Matter of fact, I haven't even showed her yet, but I plan to after this broadcast. Here locally, we had people going to beaches and for spring break. A lot of younger generation college kids were like, "Screw it, we're to go out and party and we're going to the beach." Well, a lot of them now are coming back testing positive for COVID-19,
Yeah.
and that's an example of why, like that youth, youth can be dangerous at times,
Yeah.
and so I think I've struggled with trying to convey upon my kids and other people in the household of why I'm taking some of the measures and why I think they should do it as well.
Right.
And then the other thing I think I've been struggling with that I think is maybe a little bit more relatable for a lot of people, is just I didn't realize how much I appreciated what little downtime I did have. And what I mean
Mm.
by that is, throughout I've got a busy lifestyle, as do you, with
Yeah.
kids and dogs and just the things that we do and the shows and the foundation. We're just constantly busy.
Hmm.
But I would find little moments throughout the day where I'd get like an hour here or like 20 minutes here, where I'd be able to kind of just sit and just veg out for a minute and kind of meditate or just get my quiet place and continue to nurture my inner peace, if you will.
Yeah.
And what I've noticed now is as you pointed out, I don't have a big house and I got a lot of people in it, and so it's been difficult to find those moments to try to just recharge a little bit. And
Yeah.
so as my cup continues to keep getting emptied and emptied, I notice that my patience starts to go down with it as well. And obviously I could sit here and justify my lack of patience all day long, and I could probably have a million people all agreeing with me, but it doesn't
Yeah.
change the fact that I'm not skillfully handling it. There was a couple moments, especially yesterday. I was even on the phone with you a few moments, and I think you heard it in my voice. I had
Yeah.
enough. I was done.
I heard you before you
Yeah,
called.
and so
That's how upset you must have been.
yeah, man, there was just a lot of things happening all at once. I know that just a couple examples. I have little ones, and here in Orange County, they're doing basically what they call distant learning now, like it's just online learning. Um, One of my kids is through the Orange County Public Schools, and they don't start until Monday of next week. But my other two little ones are in a charter school,
Yeah.
and while they typically they coincide with Orange County, for whatever reason, they decided to do it a week early. I think they were trying to work out bugs or something. Who knows? Either way, they were ill prepared. It just didn't go well. It was frustrating because the parents were undereducated. I think the teachers were trying to learn on the go. The students, especially elementary school age students, were not knowing what to do, and they're getting frustrated and they're asking a bunch of questions that I don't have the answer to. The teachers don't have the answers because it was all sprung on them at the last minute, and some of them aren't technologically advanced, so they're trying to figure out this technology on the fly. So it created like a perfect storm of frustration for a lot of people. And then put on top of all that, our inability as people to potentially find our coping mechanisms right now, be it not even coping mechanisms, because we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, things that get you in the mindset to cope, the redirect your thoughts a little bit, like, gym, working out, stuff like that, quiet space, those are somewhat non-existent for people at the moment. So I could totally understand. Matter of fact, it was, I think it was yesterday, I was watching one of the news things. I think I was waiting for Trump to do his nightly kind of, expose, if you will. And on the on the ticker, it was somebody giving advice on how to deal with your spouse during this time frame. And it made me think, like, yeah, I bet you there's a lot of people out there right now who are struggling, not necessarily just with spouses, but with kids and friends and animals. Like, just I could see it being very overwhelming for a lot of people. And I know for me, I completely underestimated how valuable my few little moments here and there were. So I've had to reevaluate and adjust. And I think that's the key, is to acknowledge and see within yourself, hey, my cup is starting to get empty right now. And as long as you acknowledge that, then you can start to actively look for ways to fill your cup back up. Because, number one, you can't fill from an empty cup. And number two, we're all kind of prickish when our cup is empty. Let's just be honest. It's hard to be skillful.
Some of us are prickish with empty cups, and some of us are prickish also with full
Yeah,
cups.
exactly. I can't help you with that, but no. So I mean, I think for me, while I think overall I'm doing well, I've definitely seen areas where I'm like, okay, I need to tighten that up a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah.
And I think in the long run that'll help, of course. But I think one of the most important things for a lot of people at the moment, anyways, keep in mind this is temporary, right? I mean, it's easy, especially when I talk to people who are like, as an example, people I know who are newlyweds, and myself included in that early on in my marriage, right? There's this habit, because I watch like these Married at First Sight shows and things of that nature, and I see a lot of people have the same kind of mindset when they're having these arguments. They instantly think, I can't do this for the rest of my life. So somehow they turn one tiny argument or one tiny discrepancy here into this lifelong thing. And it's like,
Uh,
and so I can see now people thinking to themselves, well, I can't do this forever. Well, you're not going to have to.
yeah.
At worst, this is going to be a couple weeks, probably, maybe a couple months. And I haven't even heard anybody saying months, by the way. It's from what I'm hearing, everybody's talking weeks. The president was on last night talking about the cure can't be worse than the thing, and he's wanting to kind of already relinquish some of these. So it's temporary, and I think that is a big thing, is to keep in your mind, this isn't a forever thing that I'm going to have to cope with.
Right. Yeah, I like all that. I think us understanding that this part of it is temporary, but the next thing we're going to go into, nobody really knows. And so there's a lot of fear of what that's going to look like,
Yeah.
what the next phase of healing is going to look like. But at least it's going to be healing no matter what.
Yeah.
This is the beginning of a lot of stuff that's going to happen. It's the first domino,
Yeah.
or at least we're in the middle domino somewhere, like an early beginning.
Yeah.
This is our new normals are going to be very different, and that's okay.
Yeah.
We're a very adaptable animal. I think I have a lot of faith in humans, even though I think a lot of us are stupid. Um, it's just a fact.
Of
I mean,
course. Of course.
if those of you out there that are stupid want to believe you're smart, that's okay. It's okay. You're still stupid,
Yeah.
just like I'm stupid in a lot of other areas, and I understand that I'm stupid in some areas.
Right.
Now, by the way, for the therapists out there, I've done counseling for many years as a counselor. That's why I say dog's calling me stupid right now.
I'm so
But
glad that I had headphones in. Otherwise, my dogs would be going off right now.
Hey, I'm not saying it in a way that I'm putting myself down and I need, help to soothe and all that stuff. I'm saying it in a way that just says that everybody has their level of stupidity in different areas.
Right.
It just so happens to be, Trinity, that this particular thing of managing a crisis, you and I are very intelligent in this part of it. So I'm trusting that in the healing of it, that other people better than you and I are going to help us get through it
Right.
in areas that we're not so intelligent
Right.
with. I mean, and we're not. I'm just not.
Right.
I don't know what's coming up. I don't know what's coming forward. But I have a lot of trust and faith in humans.
Sure.
Because here's what I know. Where I lack in one thing, somebody else is very strong in that. So let's unite together as a group and allow different members of our grouping to be strong right now.
Yeah.
And to handle this. You don't have to get it. You don't even have to believe what your leadership is saying right now. Just trust in the process a little bit. Because what else are you going to do? You're going to fight it. You're going to go out there and you're going to start touching things. You're going to stay grouping up in large groups. You're going to You're going to continue to have gatherings. You're going to continue to not take heed of all the warnings of quarantine and all this. And all you're going to do is be a bigger part of the problem.
Yeah.
That's not what we need right now.
No, not at all. And that's why we.
Shout out to everybody that's watching, by the way. We haven't said hi to
Marissa, what's going on? And Lee.
Leela. I'm going to still call her Leela.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, I think that's why the top of the show. The first thing is self quarantine if you can. I think it's important to do that for sure. And then the next step, like we cover next, is understand what that quarantine is going to start to bring to your life now. It's going to bring boredom. It's going to bring potential loneliness, depression, anxiety, aggression. It's going to bring a whole slew of things. Go ahead.
Can I pause you on that for a second,
right
though?
ahead, man.
Boredom is a full mindset, though.
I agree.
So everybody out there has had a list of things you always said, if I only had time.
Exactly.
If I had the time, I would do this. You have made that excuse to yourself probably for years.
Now you've got plenty.
I know
of time.
I have a list like that. I'm sure, Trinity, you have a list like that.
I've got a honey-do list for sure.
This is that moment.
Yeah.
This has shown me that things on that list, I'm calling bullshit on myself. There's things on that list that I have complete time to do right now that I'm still saying, I don't have time.
Yeah, of course.
But instead of I don't have time, I'm just using the factual words, which is, no, I just don't want to do it.
Doesn't mean enough to me.
So it's changed the conversation internally a little bit, because self-manipulation is a bad mofo, man.
Sure.
So I like to get completely honest. So like there was some, like I was joking the other day on one of the live feeds that, Dana had been saying, you still have 2 more TVs to hang. Can you do it? Can you do it? Can you do it? Can you do it? And I'm like, I finally hung one. I gave her one. I said, I'll give you the other one later. I'm like bargaining and doing all this stuff, right?
Sure, why not?
But it's just that I just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But some of you, it's, there's a book that you said you wanted to read, but you just haven't done it. You wanted to start writing, but you just haven't started doing it. You wanted to learn how to start playing guitar, but you just haven't started doing it. You wanted to paint the room, but you just haven't started painting. Whatever it is. So the word boredom, when I hear the word boredom, all that tells me is that you're not looking at the list and being honest with yourself that you just don't want to do that list.
Exactly.
Because I don't have time for boredom. That's what I don't have
Well, I
time
mean,
for.
for me, dude, like this is plenty of time,
Danielle
man.
said only boring people get bored.
Exactly.
That's a
Well,
fact.
yeah. I mean, if you're bored in today's world right now, with social media, with all the technology that we have, and like you said, and technology isn't just plugged in things. Books are
Right.
technology. You know, read a
Right.
book, man. Watch a movie. Watch a dude. There's so many things right now. Let's just be honest. Every single person watching this right now, I'm talking to you right now. If you have a Netflix or anything like that, trust me, you've got a long thing of queue that you put in there that you haven't watched that's been sitting there for 6 months. Watch it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Pick up that book, or like you said, you have a to do list that you've been thinking about that you want to try. You got none but
Right.
time right now, man. To get to it.
Well, Dana brought up a good point. Here in Florida, we've gone through periods like this for 3 or 4 days when we have a hurricane and we all lose
Yeah,
power and all that.
I won't anymore because I got
Trinity.
solar, baby.
But yeah, but Trinity, we still have electricity.
Yeah,
We still have all these little luxuries. We still have Wi-Fi, Trinity. We
yeah.
still have internet.
Obviously,
After a hurricane, we don't have all that stuff.
yeah. I will,
So,
but
so I got you, bro.
I'm gonna just keep putting that up there, baby.
But and I'm coming over. But we've gone through periods of 3 days without all that stuff, and that's some miserable times, and we
Yeah,
get through it.
yeah,
This is just a little bit longer, but everybody has internet, everybody has Wi-Fi, everybody has electricity.
yeah.
You
I've
know,
never
and
done more
you're
puzzles than I
in,
have in
they're not going
hurricane
to turn it
time.
off. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, hurricane time really teaches you
yeah.
how to deal.
Yes.
Oh, and I think that's where, as Floridians, we're a little bit more prepared for this quarantining stuff
Right.
because we've done this.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think the people in snow areas, I mean, come on, when I lived in Colorado, there were times where there was such a blizzard outside, you weren't going anywhere.
Yeah. We definitely don't have the problem with blizzards.
Right.
But yeah, I think that as far as being bored or occupying your time, there really is no excuse. I mean, if you're honest with yourself, there's plenty of things that you can do or get done. Once again, like I said, you have your queue on Netflix that you haven't touched. You have books. You have a project. If you have anybody in your home that lives with you, you have an instant companion right there. Spend time. Get to
Yeah.
know each other. I saw a really cool thing actually yesterday that I figured you and I could talk a little bit more about maybe and try to get something done. I like it. Somebody was trying to go on Facebook Live and do like an online game of Cards Against Humanity. I think that was really cool. Like, what if
Yeah.
you start like a big group on Facebook or something like that of live and playing like a card game with a bunch of other people? That's
Right.
kind of a cool idea, you know. There's tons
Yeah,
of
it's getting
things.
creative.
Yeah, get creative, do some things, man. Shoot, we were on the other day listening to people in Puerto Rico playing electric guitar. I mean, come on,
Right.
dude. It's a small world, and technology makes it even smaller. And as you pointed out, most of us still have that right now.
Right.
So as far as finding things to do, there's no excuse for that.
Right. Yeah. The quality of our problems here in the United States
Right.
are nothing, man. I mean, I know some of you are still you're stuck on complaining, and I get it, but at least admit to yourself that you're just a complainer. You're going to
Yeah.
complain about anything. If the temperature is a little bit off from what you expect, you're complaining. If you don't have a little thing that you don't have, you're complaining. Now, there's a big difference
Yeah.
between complaining just because you're just doing it, but when you're complaining and it's actually affecting your mood and it's
Yeah.
actually affecting the way you're treating other people, that's a different level of complaining. And that's what you really need to start working on right now. This
Yeah.
is a perfect time for that kind of self-care.
Well, yeah. Look
Uh,
inward, man.
yeah.
And that goes along the same lines of any loneliness that people are feeling and things of that nature. Yeah, Pete put a really cool
Hey, you see
message.
that?
Yeah, that was awesome.
That is great to hear.
But uh, uh, but yeah, this whole idea of loneliness, right? Like, now's a good time to look inward about that. Now's a good time to read that book that might give you some advice or tips.
Hmm.
If you've been going to therapy at all and your therapist has been giving you a bunch of homework that you haven't been doing, now's a great
Right.
time to do that. Phones still work. So if you do
Hmm.
live alone, let's say, if you're home alone, you live alone, nobody's allowed to come over because you're quarantined, do like we're doing here now. Go on,
Right.
just turn on your Facebook Live and just talk. Who knows?
Yeah, why not?
You'd be surprised in how many people are looking for that same connection at the moment who also live alone, who don't have anybody, and you guys could all kind of connect that way.
Right.
You'd be surprised at how many people are like that. I know I was. I was shocked
Yeah.
to scroll through my feed and see how many people I saw complaining of loneliness right now. I was like, really? Wow. Like, I was unaware. Not that I'm judging or anything. I don't know. I was
Right.
completely unaware. I did not think it just never occurred to me that this would be a lonely time for people.
Right. Right.
And so,
And
go ahead.
no, you go ahead. You were on a
I
point.
was just going to say, I think a lot of other people, you're not alone. No matter what you're thinking, there's going to be other people out there thinking the same. So if you post a live video, let's say, for instance, just as an example, you go on and kind of express yourself a little bit. That in and of itself is its own therapeutic release.
Right.
And then you might realize, wait a minute, I didn't know this person was feeling the same. And it might not even be a stranger who's on your friends list. It might be an actual friend that you had no clue was
Right.
struggling as well. Go ahead. I know you were on something.
Yeah, no. What I was gonna say is, see if I can remember, but
You gotta
the
do like
loneliness.
Darren and do this part here, man.
Yeah, I know. And when you said that loneliness part, and we're not trying to say that this kind of connectivity is equal to
No,
physical connection.
no,
There's a difference, and I get that.
I get that as well.
That there's a difference between physical connection and this kind of connection. But I think you need to make that distinction.
Yeah.
I think you need to understand that connecting like this may be the best you can get at the moment. But it also is a skill to learn how to allow yourself to connect like this, to not simply just get on the phone and talk about the weather or, hey, I think it's going to be. I'm not really good at small talk. Oddly enough, I'm really good at connecting like this if we're talking about something specific. But I'm not really good at small talk. I want to get into whatever we're really talking about, or just let's do something with our conversation. So if you got to develop that skill, then develop it. Or if you see that you tend to be really superficial on the phone with your parents or with your cousins or with your friends, well, hopefully this is showing you that, look, man, you can't just get deep with your best friend or with your loved one or whatever, and then be superficial with everybody else and then expect that at a time like this that you're not going to get lonely. You're going to get lonely because you're not opening up to other people. So hopefully you can learn how to maybe open up to at least one other person in your life, and then maybe at least two other people in your life. And I think that'll allow you to feel a lot less lonely.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that as well. I was also astonished. Some of the shows I've been watching lately have a lot to do with connectivity and things of that nature.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of people who will kind of talk about their inner feelings to a stranger, essentially, and then they'll do these little monologues afterwards. And they all have this thing in common. Inevitably, they almost all would look at the camera during their little confessional time and say, "I can't believe it. I've never been that open with people. I've never been." Why? You know what I mean? Open yourself up a little bit. It's okay. Like, that's how you build genuine connection with people. For me, it's hard to understand because I'm such an open person. Like, I'm literally as transparent as I think I'm able to be in a healthy way. But so it does. I don't comprehend holding things back from people, because to me, I think that's how you grow, is by talking about things, being open about it, learning from it, sharing those experiences with your fellow man, them sharing them with you. That's how you learn that you're not alone. That's how you learn different coping skills.
Right.
That's how you learn different things about yourself and others.
But
Go ahead.
but I know why, Trinity. Or at least I think I know why. When you after counseling people for so many years, man,
Right.
26 years in private practice, right? Even though I've never suffered pain by putting too much trust in somebody, there's a lot of people out there that the reason they don't is because they did open up to somebody. And at some point in time within their life, they opened up to somebody who maybe didn't deserve it or misused it, and then abused that trust.
Right.
And so instead of understanding that that's that person, that person was the problem, they blamed themselves as the problem and said, "Oh, I trusted too much. That was the problem. The problem was that I gave too much. I trusted too much. I was too nice. I opened up too much. I shouldn't have done this." No, that wasn't the issue. The issue was that person was just an asshole.
Exactly. They didn't deserve it.
Just abuse. That person just was not deserving.
That's not.
And that
Yeah.
and it's not your fault. So even though somebody probably told you that and you yesed them to death, like, yeah, I know, you didn't believe it. So you carried that level of distrust. Like, at some point in my time, I used to believe that distrust was the virtue.
Oh yeah.
I used to believe that not trusting you. As a matter of fact, I was raised that way. If my mom was on right now, I would even ask her right now, "Mom, what do you always tell me?" She always tells me, "Louis, you trust too much. You trust people too much." I don't get that. No, I don't. I trust because it's a gift I give you.
Yeah.
You want to abuse it? That's up to you.
I trust you until you give me a reason not to.
Yeah, man, nothing's going to change my world, brother. My world is my world. You can't rock it by screwing with my level of trust. Trust is, I give it to you and I can just take it away. It's not a big deal. but it doesn't mean that I'm not going to give it to the next person. And I think that's what a lot of people struggle with, is why they can't connect with other people, and they choose not to connect with other people. Says, I just don't trust
Right.
people. Like in female groups, you hear a lot of times, oh, I just don't like other women. I just don't like other. I like hanging out with guys, and we just like accept that
Right.
rather than say, well, how healthy is that in the long
Yeah.
run? If you just knocked out 50% of the population, and says, I'm not going to
Exactly.
get close to that population. That's not healthy.
No, no, not at all. And actually, in a roundabout way, you kind of segued into another point that I wanted to make sure we made today, and that was understanding each individual is going to handle this and in every other thing for that matter in their own kind of way, in their own unique perspective, their own unique responses, if you will, right? Like in this particular situation, as you pointed out earlier, you and I like to have fun. We like to joke about things,
Yeah.
and for some, they might look at that as we're not taking it seriously.
Mm-hmm.
But yet we are. I mean, if you look at our behavior and our actions, we're quarantined, we're doing things, and so we are taking it seriously. But the
Right.
way we choose to look at things is to laugh at it, because you and I both have been through enough in our lives where it's like, dude, if I were just to get upset and hurt every single time, like, I'd never leave the house, bro. Like, there's so much stuff we both see in our own personal lives and those we deal with on a daily basis, to where we've got to learn how to find the humor in things, because humor is therapeutic. At least for me, it is. Humor keeps me alive, man. It keeps me going. I like to laugh.
Yeah.
And so it's important to understand that there's going to be some people who are better suited to handle this crisis than others. There's going to be people who handle this. They choose to handle it by wanting their space. There's going to be people who want the connectivity. There's going to be people who have anxiety and panic a little bit. There's going to be people who don't understand it or don't care. And none of those are necessarily right or wrong. That's just where they're at in their journey. And I think that's a very important lesson that we keep at this moment, be it yourself or others, is love them and love yourself where you're at on this journey.
Right.
And if you don't like it, use that as a catalyst for growth, not a catalyst for judgment. So if
Right.
you see a part of yourself at the moment that you're not liking, instead of being, ooh, what's wrong with that? I'm not. Okay, well, investigate that a little bit and learn to grow from it.
Right.
Or if you have a friend or family member that's handling things in a way that you don't necessarily think they should, then use this as an opportunity to grow in your own judgment of that person's reactions, as well as allowing them to grow from that as well. And the best way to help someone grow isn't by badgering them and telling them they're wrong. It's investigating and asking them questions and trying to understand their perspective. And as they try to explain it to you, they might have that epiphany on their own. Who knows?
They might.
But the point being, there is no right or wrong way per se to handle this. Obviously, you have the basics: stay quarantined. Don't go out there coughing on people. Things like that. Logistically, yes, there's a right and wrong way. But as far as if you're going through this with laughter or self isolation or whatever it may be, it's not really a right or wrong way.
Right.
If it's hurting those around you, we could argue that's a wrong way. But that's a different show for a different day. The point I'm making here is what's going to help keep your sanity in all this
Mm-hmm.
is not expecting everybody to meet your expectations right now.
Right.
And
Yeah.
adjusting those expectations. Go ahead.
Well, no. Did
Yeah, go
did you
ahead.
hear that?
I heard a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. She can't stop making noise. I mean, first I don't know what she did to the coffee pot earlier, but now what'd you break, babe?
Somebody put a glass in the
Uh
wrong
oh.
spot.
That's
Shame.
called blame. That's called blame.
That's all right. My dog keeps
Somebody,
harassing me, and then my kids next door, I can hear them through the walls. They're fighting about something. This
I
is,
love calling her out in front of everybody because she gets mad at me for it.
yeah.
But yeah, somebody put a glass. What did somebody put a glass where?
Glass in the wrong cabinet. I just opened the door.
Somebody put a glass in the wrong cabinet. So when she opened did you hear the big splash? She
I
opened
heard
the
a
cabinet.
bunch of stuff. Yeah, it was probably
Yeah,
you.
glass.
You put the glass in the wrong cabinet, didn't you? You need to grow from that.
I'm not going to confirm or
You
deny
need to
that I
grow
did,
from that. Is what you need to do.
because I'm pretty sure I didn't. But I'll take the heat. I'll jump on the grenade for somebody.
There you go.
But it's funny. But yeah, not only do people deal with this differently, but learning how to accept other people's differences, I think, is what you're saying, right?
Yep.
Learning how to accept that that's their way of handling it,
Yep.
and it may not be the way you would handle it. It may not be the way you like it. I mean, I'm part of this online private.
Whoa, where's this going?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's an NA online,
Oh, okay.
right? So it's supposed to be just a positive place, right?
Right.
So it's a group, because a lot of people can't get to an NA meeting or an AA meeting at this point in time, so they do it online, right, on Facebook.
Sure.
And there's this one guy that just went on this little rant about how he's all mad that they closed the home group. And, we still need meetings and we need to be face to face. None of this Facebook crap. And it's like, man, and he's blaming, the media hype. It's like,
Right.
look, yes. Does the media like to hype stuff up?
Of course,
Yes.
that's their job, man. Well,
However, do you think that our media has controlled the entire world? Have you not noticed that the entire world is
yeah,
struggling right now?
yeah,
I mean, instead
yeah,
of just getting frustrated like that, no, maybe you don't like going to online meetings, and maybe that's not the way that you prefer it to be. But that negativity that you express, what is that going to get you?
exactly.
Because that everybody is still trying to get healthy and get sober. So I'd rather connect via an online group and still be coming back,
Right.
keep coming back. It works if you work it, rather than getting all frustrated because you don't like the way it is. And then so what? You're just not going to come. You're not
Exactly.
going to go, or you're going to allow that newcomer to get an excuse not to show up. You know how hard it is to get somebody to agree with some of our philosophies, or is just keep coming back no matter how it's done. Just pick up the phone, call your sponsor, but all that little stuff, and then you're just going to go give their disease a reason to say, you know what, yeah, I don't like it either. You're right. I'm
Right.
not going to do it. I mean, come on, man.
Well, it kind of, it reminds me in part of the Eightfold Path, right? Is the second one is right intentions, and that is understanding the coming from the right intent as well as understanding somebody else's intent, right?
Right,
And
right,
the story I typically use to illustrate that one that goes off the easiest is if like you have a puppy right now in your house.
right.
And if that little puppy's in the house and it's wagging its little tail and it's excited to see everybody, and then you reach down to pet it and it snips at you, you don't typically look at that little puppy and throw it across the room and be like, "This stupid dog." No, you typically look at it and understand it's a puppy. It was probably scared. I scared it. It kind of snapped at me, and you try to understand what it was going through. You don't judge it immediately.
Right.
And so we as human beings have that innate ability to do that. The problem is we typically only reserve it for old people. And when I say
Yeah.
old, I don't mean you. I mean like 70, 80. I had to throw a little jab in there.
That's it.
Or like little kids and animals.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really like we're amazing at that population, those populations. But our fellow peers, we always like, well, you should know better. Like
Yeah.
we don't stop to think of their intent. So if your loved one right now is freaking out a little bit, instead of saying, well, why are you being so, stop to think, you know what, maybe that person's struggling a little bit right now. Maybe this
Yeah.
person's a little overwhelmed. Maybe it's my time to kind of step in a little bit and say, okay, let me take some of it off your plate or whatever. So I think this is a great time to really look at perspective, because I do see an awful lot of judgment. I do see a lot of people saying, "Hey, don't do this or don't do that." Like people judging how much toilet paper you just bought, like judging who you're hanging out with or what you're doing. And I'm not saying that everybody out there what they're doing is right or wrong. What I'm saying is you don't know, and
Yeah.
everybody's got their own perspective. Until you understand that perspective, you might want to like step back a little bit and try to understand intent. Because at the end of the day, we're a great judge for everybody else, but we're our own lawyers, right? Like we'll sit there and we judge ourselves on what we intended to do, but we judge everybody else on what they did. And so I think at the moment, when we're in this quote unquote quarantine in such these tight quarters, I think one of the things that's going to make it worse for everybody living there is if we don't stop to appreciate the perspectives of those around us.
Right.
Your way
See,
is not the way; it's a way. Go ahead. You got
nice.
something funny to say.
Well, no, you just remind me. I said that to my daughter yesterday when I failed her by not getting into the store before it closed. And I came home. I said, baby, you know what my intent was.
Right.
So what my motive was. She goes, yeah, but you didn't do it. I said, you're right. And for that, I take the blame. And you can be mad at me for that. But I'm still going to be messing with her and smiling at her
Sure.
like, Daddy failed you in this moment. But that's
Right.
but that's not my norm. Dad doesn't usually fail you, but
Yeah.
Dad failed you today. And
Sure.
it's just accepting that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to accept. Okay, I failed this person right now,
Yeah.
and let them be upset.
Yeah.
I let her be upset.
I had that moment yesterday in my own home.
Yeah, it didn't change
Yeah.
anything. I mean, this morning when I
Yeah.
got up and she got up, I still said, "Hey, let me get you some breakfast." And last night before she went to bed, I was like, "Can I help you get some dinner or whatever?" I mean, in other
Right.
words, I didn't hold it against her long term, even
Right.
though she's going to be she was in a bad mood the rest of the night, and I still
Right.
try to feed her. And this morning, She didn't wake up in a bad mood because she's used to that kind of
Right.
conversation. That's the way we talk to each other.
Sure.
That's our conversation. She knows that I'm not going to hold it too long anyway, and so by morning, I'll shrug it off.
Right.
So as long as she shrugs it off, we're good.
Yeah.
And so I think those kinds of things, if we could do the same kinds of things like that, if you practice in your own home, why not take it outside the home?
Yeah. Well,
To other people.
Yeah.
You know
That's
what I
where
mean? So if
peace
somebody
comes
pissed
from.
you off yesterday on Facebook, doesn't mean that today you have to be upset with them on Facebook. I mean,
Yeah.
that was yesterday.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let it go.
Well, no, I mean, I
Yeah.
had that exact moment in my house too. I mean, I definitely, once again, I was getting frustrated with the chaos that was coming from both kids, trying to learn, and deal with all this online schooling all at once, coming back and forth, asking me a bunch of different things, and it's frustrating when you don't know the answers. When you're used to being the fix-it guy, you're used to being the answer guy, and you don't have them, and they keep coming at you. And then at the same token, my daughter's friend is dealing with being kicked out of her house essentially at 16 years old during the middle of a quarantine, and I'm trying to help facilitate a solution there while also not stepping on toes. And then, our own issues in the quarantine, just all these things were all happening at once. I finally had a moment where I was like, all right, I'm done. You know what? Like, screw everybody. I'm done at the moment. And my wife was saying something basically kind of bringing to my attention, like, hey, you're not really doing well at the moment. And instead of arguing, I was like, you're right. I'm not. I
Right.
owned it. I was like, no, I am not doing well right now at this moment.
Right.
I stepped outside, took a couple minutes, and we kind of dealt with it for the rest of the night. But today's a new day, and we're all good. And as you pointed out, you got to have a short-term memory, and you got to respect the fact that everybody's going through this, man. You're not the only one. Like, no matter what cross you're bearing, I promise you, the person you're talking to is also bearing a cross that they feel is equally as heavy.
Yeah.
And that's the thing we kind of keep in mind, man, is nobody really starts the day. I don't want to say nobody because I'm sure there's an outlier out there somewhere, but typically people don't start the day thinking to themselves, how can I ruin somebody else's day today? That's just not what happens. They're on their way, going through their day, trying to do what they're going to do, and their behavior and your expectations just didn't meet up at that exact moment. And what's getting you angry isn't really their behavior; it's the fact that their behavior didn't meet your expectations. Because if you
Right.
think about it that way, it's kind of true, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you thought that this person was going to say this, would you really be that upset? No, you're upset because it caught you off guard and didn't meet what you thought it should have been. That's what you're getting upset about, is your expectations. Now, I'm not saying that their behavior was great or not great, but what I'm saying, even poor behavior, if you expect it and you know it's coming, you're not really that upset about it. You're like, see, I knew he was going to do it.
Right.
So, adjust. That's your expectations kind of getting better. What is it? Expectations lead to resentments, right? I mean, that's,
Yeah. Meditated ones. Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
the truth, man. And so I think that's right now it's very easy for everybody within your own household to have expectations of the expectation of, hey, they should know what I'm going through, or the expectation of you should handle things this way, or and that's going to cause unnecessary conflict within your own homes, and that can make this quarantine thing a hell of a lot harder than it needs to be, man. I can see a lot of people coming out of this, divorced
Right.
or
Oh,
angry at the world, like, and it's just unnecessary. It doesn't need to go there.
yeah. A friend sent me this funny little thing. I think I'm going to post it, man. It's really funny. I'll post it later on. It's just a funny little video. Um, it just sums some things up for some people, because there's a lot of couples that are probably not enjoying the together time like you and I may be okay with, because this is going to highlight, if you're in a problem situation, this is really going to highlight.
Oh yeah.
But just don't make any major decisions during this kind of chaos. Just
No, of
please,
course
just
not.
understand everyone, everyone is suffering anxiety right now, whether they want to admit it or not.
Right.
It's impossible to go through what the entire world is going through right now and not have some unsure thoughts going on and
Of course.
some anxiety. Now, you may not be the kind of anxiety-ridden person that looks like a Chihuahua puppy, but you still have an internal anxiety because there's so many unknowns right now. So it's all of your faith and all of your practicing and all of your spiritual thoughts and all of your balancing techniques that is allowing you to stay calm right now, because some of you are very skilled like that. But remember, not everyone is. And so when you go out there in this community, I mean, I saw two arguments in that little bit of time I was out. Yesterday, I saw two groups of individuals that were like almost fighting physically.
Wow.
I don't know what they were arguing about, but they were, in different street. One was at a bus stop that I was passing, and the other one was just, I don't know, they were both at bus stops. They were both at bus
That
stops.
damn public
So
transportation, man.
yeah, and so you could just imagine the level of frustration that everybody has. So just please just be a little bit more patient.
Yeah.
Not only with other people, but more importantly with yourself. Be a little bit more patient with you. Just know
Yeah.
that you need a lot of self-soothing right now that you're probably not very good at. So your eyeballs are looking outward and you're blaming everybody. And I get it, because when I suffered high levels of aggression and anger and frustration in my own life, I didn't look inward. I didn't blame me. I blamed everybody else. So I became volatile to the outside world instead of being suicidal and depressed.
Right.
And so that's where you and I relate. You and I have always,
Yeah.
Okay, well, if I'm going to be in pain, I'm not going to accept it.
This is gonna hurt everybody.
Cause pain. Yeah, I'm going to cause pain. But just right now is a good time to understand that there's never been a better time. And we talked about this on the last Couch Live, where there's never been a better time to get better at yourself.
Yeah.
Never been a better time to look inward and deal with who you are as a person. You have plenty of time to do so. So you don't have that as an
Exactly.
excuse. And you had said the first point that you had said about doing the right thing. I want to mention it because I read this today, actually. So when you said that, it was kind of odd that you had brought that up, because it was a Martin Luther King quote, and it was the time is always right to do what's right. And that's a great quote.
Yeah, I agree.
It's always the right time to do what's right. And right now, whatever right is for you is a good time to do that.
Well, and the other thing to remember also, while this particular external virus, whatever you want to call it, is temporary, because it will go away. I mean, we're not dealing with a plague here, which is going to kill half the Earth's population. And it's going to go away at some point. We're all going to kind of bounce back from this. So while that might be temporary, some of the growth that you make doesn't have to be, but also some of the damage that you could do might not be temporary. So you could open your mouth and say some things or do some things right now that won't be temporary. And so when life goes back to normal, your new normal might be whatever you created in this instance. But that, like I said, that works on the other side of things as well. If you use this opportunity to really look inward and grow a little bit, kind of look at what your responses to things are and try to dig into a little bit deeper on why you're responding to that. Like, where is this anxiety coming from? Where is this unskillfulness coming from? Why am I doing these things? And you take this opportunity to grow from it. That might be permanent as well, man. You can come out of this thing, a whole different person. This might be one of the better things that's happened to you, assuming that nobody in your immediate life gets sick with this. So that's something that to food for thought, really. It doesn't have to just be a superficial thing. You could watch SpongeBob all day long if that's what you're into, but don't be afraid to grow either. Don't be afraid to look into some of the little moments and try to handle it as skillfully as you possibly can, and get new skills along the way.
It's real funny because, like, Mother Nature put us all in timeout at the same time.
Exactly.
Like when you get in a fight with your brother when you're young or something like that, it doesn't matter who's right. Just everybody just go to their room.
Yep.
We all just got sent to our rooms. That's all. It's like everybody just go to your room and think about what you did. So right now we're just all in our rooms. It's like, all right, what did I do?
Exactly.
And some of you aren't able to figure it out.
Yeah.
Me personally, I don't know. I'm still working on. All right, what can I do differently? Well, we did some of this stuff. We're actually adapting. Business wise, we're adapting. Family wise, I hope I do what's necessary so that my family knows that in time of crisis, that as the father figure in this home, I can be dependent upon. I just have to keep doing that.
Right.
And as far as that role, that's going to get even bigger. Probably in the days to come when finances become a little bit more of an issue for the whole world. But right now, it's just keep the peace, keep the strength, keep the confidence that we can get through this. But everybody do their role. I'm looking at Dana for Dana to do her role. I'm going to do my role, and Zoe can do whatever she likes, because as an 18, I'm not giving her much of a role to do other than just don't go do anything that's going to hurt your life. You know what I mean?
Don't do anything silly.
Yeah. So she's painting her room. That's what she's doing.
Ah, interesting. But she has
Yeah.
like that palace downstairs, doesn't she? Like that whole like that. Yeah, man. Why she would ever want to leave that? I'll move in whenever she leaves. Just let me know. I'll come in there. I'll take that whole
Well,
bottom floor.
you know, so she's supposed to go to FAU, in the summer.
Right
That
on.
was the plan. The way things are going, maybe the plan will be she stays here for the summer and maybe goes to FAU online, because I think that at this point, most schools are trying to figure out, wait a minute, we always like this online idea because
Yeah.
it's actually costs us less than professors, and we can actually have more students by doing online schooling. So many schools have a pretty good online platform, including Harvard. Harvard has a huge online platform.
Yeah.
So I think this is just, again, our new normal is that we're going to learn that a lot of our moving around is a little unnecessary,
Yeah.
because we live in a world where we can use this technology really well to our advantage. And here's what I'm hoping, Trinity, for people my age and above. So right now I'm going to speak to them. We've made jokes and laughed about millennials for a very long time. Trinity is a millennial, so we can, we've laughed about his
Depends on who you look
generation.
at, I guess. I'm
Well,
gonna make you full screen right now because we only got about 3-4 minutes. So
okay,
this is also
all
your
right.
final message, Jerry Springer.
Okay. All right. So, this is our time to really understand that we got to stop being fearful of this type of connectivity. We had always said, well, in my day, I'd go out and play. In my day, I used to drink from the hose. In my day, but whatever. This is aren't that was our day. This is our day now. And these new generations could be very helpful, and they could teach us that this is a level of connectivity. This is the wave of the future. And if we were more accepting yesterday about this other generation, we'd be in a lot better place today, and this wouldn't be as much of a big deal. So let's accept the future to be what it is. Let's accept the new generations to bring ideas, and embrace what's to come.
Right on. Yeah, I mean, I would echo that. I think moving forward, I think we're going to realize that a lot of these things that we're kind of looking at as new and we're learning, I think they're going to stick around for a while. I also think that a lot of the closures that we're seeing are going to expand. Like I think that with you, I think my kids aren't going back, so I think we all, if we have little ones or we have children in school, we have to plan for and address the very real possibility that they're not going back to school for the rest of the year. I think most of us in sometime in May, so it almost doesn't even make sense to bring them back for just like 2 or 3 weeks. So don't get caught off guard by that. Is what I'm saying. Like try to make plans because it's a very real possibility you'll end up going back to work before they go back to school again. So you gotta kind of come up with some contingency plans. Having said that, now's the time of the show for those of you who watch on a religious basis. First of all, thank you. Second of all, this is our 3 tips where we try to kind of wrap up the show and give you something to walk away with, some sort of an action plan. And today is pretty simple, man. I'm going to say that number one is do the right thing. If you're watching this, I'm hoping you're doing this from a quarantine place. You've taken the initiative to really kind of isolate yourself from others and not put other people at risk or potentially put your family at risk by catching it from somebody else. The faster we do this, the faster it's going to be over. As they said, they're trying to flatten the curve because if you've seen any of the numbers, man, it spreads very, very rapidly. So please, please, I beg you, if you're not already doing it, do the responsible thing. Stay at the house. Don't go out unless you absolutely have to. And even if you do, keep it like 6 to 10 feet away from somebody else. If there's somebody else in the checkout line, don't get right up on them. And if you got a cough or sneeze or something, cover your mouth, please. The second tip is to also really kind of wrap your head around the fact that this is only temporary. Don't get so focused on this very small, period of time and panic and thinking this is what the rest of your life is going to be like. Or make decisions as if this is going to be the rest of your life. Because it's not. It's a very temporary thing. We're going to get through this. We're going to come out the other side of it. And most likely we're going to come out better for it. So don't make any decisions that's going to jeopardize that potentially. And then finally, the third one is as you're at home, as you're being quarantined, and as you're dealing with the stresses of day-to-day life, the new stresses placed upon you, and you're trying to figure out how to handle this whole thing skillfully, one of the biggest skill sets that you can use is understanding that the people around you, their job is not to meet your expectations. Their job is to do the best that they can do, and it's your job to accept that. Doesn't mean that you're going to like it, but you have to learn. Oh, and there's a dog barking. You have to learn
Yeah.
and understand that everybody's going to deal with things in their own way. Everybody's got their own expectations, their own perspective, and they're gonna act accordingly. So please try to have patience with them and with yourself, and handle this the most skillful way that you possibly can do. Having said that, we're done with our show now. I'm going to do the outro. If you want to hang out afterwards, we're going to stick around and do some post things. And if you're not going to stick around, then make sure you share this on social media. You can see later on YouTube, youtube.com/Dharma Time. But in the meantime, now that you know better, do better. Peace. Are you still here? What are you doing? I told you, go do better.